Welcome to How to Know When It's Time to Call an Expert. I'm Peter Winston, and I want to tell you before I start, if you have questions, type them into the chat box during the presentation, and I'm sure to get to them in chat, and happy to have you reach out anytime before or after, and love to get to know you and find out what you're working on. And I hope that you're enjoying the QT World Summit and enjoying your project using QT and getting all of your questions answered today. As I said, my name is Peter Winston, and we have the largest QT consultancy in North America, 150 qualified developers. Almost all of those are QT developers. We've been working in the world of QT for probably 20 years now. In addition to QT, which is the center of everything we do, we have a bunch of services that surround the QT projects and the QT applications that we build, such as UX design services. We have a full design team called Boston UX. They work with designing the user interface of any type of application. We sit side by side with the developers. They make sure things they design are built. We have expert software development team. We have a fast-growing testing team. And also recently, we've built a pretty big regulatory services group for medical devices, project management, and pretty much all the skills you need to build a connected device. We've been doing this for a long time. We have lots and lots of customers that we are allowed to talk about, and lots more that we're not allowed to talk about. Over those times, we've been doing both applications with Qt and more recently devices, and we find that the applications have a different level of problem than devices. The applications tend to be very focused on Qt, where the devices tend to have much more a wide variety of problems. So what you see here in the center is our different skills. These represent the different teams we have. And these are the teams we've been doing for a long time, visual design, front-end QT, QML, back-end QML, and embedded firmware development. And I'd say for the last 5 years, we've been working in medical devices. Medical devices make up 60% of the work that we do right now. And then also involves regulatory, quality assurance teams, project management, testing, and software verification, and cybersecurity. And also, since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been doing some more things. The devices that we've been working on have been pulling us into these other areas, 3D digital twins, remote device management, web and mobile apps that connect to the devices, platform support, particularly Yocto or Android, of bringing up board support packages or updates in the operating system. We do this for lots of different markets, medical devices, I said, but also transportation, industrial, consumer devices, aerospace, other markets. What they have in common is building these, complexities. There's a lot of things where you can know the APIs, but that doesn't mean you know how to put the APIs together. You can hire the people, but you don't know how to make the teams work together. Usually the place where things get in trouble are between the categories. It's between it's how you use the QML and the C++, or it's where the regulatory and the UX, or where the development and the designers need to work together. And we usually put these together into these lessons learned from building hundreds of devices, lessons learned in how to manage a world-class development team. Sometimes we do it the other way, why projects fail, and have lots and lots of content we've done over the years that's on our website and our blogs. And I hope you can check out our blogs. They're both technical and strategic, and lots of these different subjects. When people think about getting help from consultants, they usually think about a couple of different things. Getting help covers lots and lots of areas. People help you with anything you want, but they start with thinking about the heavy lifting. I've got some big problem. How are you going to help me on the heavy lifting? Another thing is specialists. How do I get some little thing done? This isn't just for you. I like to take advice, and often if we need a specialist for some problem, I'll bring it in. Just working on one right now, which is a device driver for a very high resolution camera that's needed for a medical device to run the image through some machine learning algorithm and detect whether this pathogen exists or doesn't exist. But the point is that you need that projects get complicated, and every once in a while you need a specialist that isn't core to what you do day to day. And that's a great time to know when to bring a specialist. Another time, it's just you want advice. Am I going in the right direction? Do I have the right team? Do my architecture review? I had one thing that was really interesting that came up, just the difference between using Git and SVN. Someone estimated to be as much as 15% of the productivity from using the wrong configuration management system. I'd like to think of getting help in a slightly different framework than just heavy lifting or specialists. And I like to think of things as, is this a who problem? So a who problem are the easiest ones. So a who problem is, I know exactly what I want to do, and I know how to do it. And if I saw the resume of the person, I would know that this is the person that can just do that job. And if you have a who problem, those are pretty simple, and they come up all the time. Say you're working on an application and you're doing 4.3 and you're adding 7 new features, and you understand that application and you understand the technology stack. It's pretty simple to get things into who problems. When you're going into new territory, all of a sudden things start to become these harder problems: how, what, or why. So a how problem is, well, you know what you want to do, and you think you know how you want to do it. It's definitely going to be something that's important, but you can't just pick anyone. You need someone that you have confidence in, because you can't tell them exactly what to do, how to do it. You need them to tell you how they're going to do it. And a step more difficult than that is a what problem, where you think you know what you want, but you're not exactly sure. You've never done this part before, and now you want someone that's done this before several times. A really good example that came up on a project recently was this. Showed up as a requirement: if the device fails to update correctly, the system restores the last stable configuration. Seems simple enough as a requirement, but when you start scratching the surface of it, we found, well, this impacts the database, this impacts the application, the operating system, it impacts some configuration that was being stored on the web. And so we gave this to a developer. They wouldn't know where to actually begin. And so we really had to back up and break this down to engineering requirements that then someone could go for it and do. Now, for someone else, maybe this is a who problem. Maybe they do this all the time, and they could do it. So having done it now, for us, we understand this type of problem. Where someone else, it's a harder problem. I like to think of these things in these different categories: how problems and what problems. How do you go about building something versus what is it you want to build? If you went to some of my presentations in the past, I spent an hour just on this one chart talking about these different things. But how do you eliminate the unknowns from your application by having the right technical skills and having the right and knowing where to dig into the right product scope and definition? Of course, the difficult part is you can't actually eliminate unknowns from your project. If you try to eliminate all the unknowns, it takes as long as the whole project. So you're always going to get some amount of surprises. But when you have your staffing, you want to think about it strategically. What skills are core, which ones are going to be hard to find, where's your skill gap, do you understand the unknowns, and where do you think the risks are likely to come from, and make sure that you have people who can deal with those difficulties as they come up. One way to do this is to have a partner that you can bring in as needed in those things. So the way people handle the skills gap is they understand first what their project is likely to be, how many man months of each skill that you need, and you list the people down the other way, and how many people you have, and it adds up to a certain number of skills and these things. And what you get is a gap, a skill gap that's going to tell you, okay, I'm going to need a cybersecurity expert, or I'm going to need 3 more embedded developers, something like that. And with that, you can start thinking about how to deal with your unknowns, because unknowns are going to hit you, because the process of uncovering everything is really the same as the writing everything. So unless you've done this type of project before many times, which almost nobody has in this room, because we're all doing something that's never been done before, almost by definition. In the world of QT, we do a lot of new things. And once you're behind schedule, it becomes very, very hard to catch up. And you have to, if you want a chance of catching up, in addition to having your skills gap needed, you need to have a plan for a surge. So I'm short on time today, so I'm not going to cover how do you plan for uncharted territory where you don't know what you don't know, or when a project goes off the rail, or you have sudden failure of something that was working, or how you go about leveling up your internal team, or how you get over a hump that's presented itself, and the ways you can plan your surges to do that. And I'm really not going to spend much time on the different types of places you can get people, but understand that they're different, that, everyone understands an individual 1099, and staffing agencies that provide you resumes. There are body shops that are bigger than that. The factory is the source of the technology. So what that means is if you're doing an Oracle database, you can get Oracle to help your Salesforce get Salesforce. In this case, it's the QT company. And the QT company has great engineers that can help with things. And you bring them in if you have a particular issue, say with QT. The technology consultants, I consider myself a technology consultant like KDAB, we focus on a particular problem. So the staffing agencies focus on just sourcing your resumes. The technology consultants, they tend to be a little bit more expensive because they focus on building up a reservoir of talent in a particular area so they can say, I've covered all these different types of areas before. And then all of these things can be done onshore, offshore, nearshore, and people have different tolerances for different risks, and different management styles are required for managing the different types of things. So what can you outsource? Well, it's really easy to outsource function, like UX design, user testing, maybe the architecture or testing. Or you can outsource a component. A component would be, the platform, or some OpenGL or QML component, a lot of multimedia, maybe outsourcing the web or mobile app, or even the whole user interface. And finally, it brings me to the why problem. So the why problems are really, well, why am I doing this? Is this core to your business? Is this something you should buy versus build? And the key to success at the end is understanding your unknowns, understanding what your core is, understanding how you cover the critical areas with the right experience, building a staffing plan strategically that's going to allow you to surge, and planning and budgeting for those unknowns. Listen, I'm here and happy to hear what you have to say. I'm not trying to be pushy, but please get in touch if you're interested. We want to help when we can. You can reach me on LinkedIn or email, or I'm easy to find, and I hope to talk to you soon. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I hope you're learning lots of other things at QT World Summit, and I hope you're enjoying the world of QT. It's a great platform for building great applications and devices. Thank you.